Yo, what's good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, going with us, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. Guys, do not deceive you. This is a Tanjiro what if. What if Tanjiro had blood breathing? And yeah, I don't want to waste that much more of your time. I want to say this flat out. If you guys enjoy Tanjiro stuff, you have to show some love to the video. Likes, subs, comments, all that stuff. If you guys really want to see more of this, I'm down to do more Tanjiro stuff. I'm down to kind of do a little bit of everything. Let's do some Tanjiro. Let's do some Deku. Hopefully I get back a hold of doing some Naruto stuff. I got to really lock in and figure out how I want to do those what ifs. Maybe even Naofumi stuff, right? Naofumi was a big part of my journey on what ifs. So I'm sure some of y'all are from then and you guys really want to see that too. But with all that said, I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into the journey of Tanjiro Kamado. So let's get it. Tanjiro Kamado would start very simply with his family in basically the middle of nowhere in a house. And one day he would head off to a village to sell coal. And what he doesn't know is that this day would change his life forever. From helping people day in and day out to wandering back up that mountain after one day of sleeping in a nice neighbor's house, going right into seeing his entire family gone and in the dust, passed on and murdered by whatever did come. And it seems that he now knows that something happened. He doesn't know exactly what happened, but he knows it was some creature, some demon, some monster, and he sees that his sister Nezuko is still breathing. He runs after her, grabbing her and picking her up, thinking that she's the only sole survivor, and runs her off. But she would then transform and they would get thrown off a mountain. He would try his best to keep her away, trying not to die to Nezuko. And as this is occurring, someone would show up, and in one foul swoop, Giyu Tomioka would enter the fray. Giyu would immediately try to stop Nezuko's attack, defeating her pretty quickly, but Tanjiro's telling him, "No, don't kill her. That's my sister. She is no demon. She is my sister." And this would eventually lead Tanjiro to fighting Giyu, throwing his axe into the sky, trying to get the upper hand, leading to Giyu almost getting decapitated by the axe that was thrown. But as this occurred, as this happened, and as Giyu would knock out Tanjiro, something unprecedented would happen. Nezuko would protect her brother, a demon protecting a human, and it would shock Tomioka to his core. But it would lead him to realizing that this is different than anything he's ever seen. Telling Tanjiro and Nezuko eventually, or telling Tanjiro more specifically when he wakes up, that he needs to go to Urokodaki. Go to Urokodaki and learn from him. Learn from the master that taught him, the master of water breathing. And that's exactly what Tanjiro tries to do. He tries to leave with Nezuko, tries to gain some sort of kind of thing so that he can cover her up, gets a bit of a cart of some sorts to make sure that she's fine. And eventually, as their journey would trickle on, and as night would eventually approach, they would encounter what is known as the Temple Demon. And Tanjiro would fight it off with all his might, and Nezuko would jump into the fight as well. But eventually the arrival of Urokodaki would help with the fight as well, and Urokodaki would tell him about that demons would need to have their heads cut off with a certain blade, and on top of that, they need to burn in the sun. And this is just one aspect that Urokodaki would teach him, because there's so much more that Urokodaki can teach Tanjiro Kamado in the near future. And what he's going to teach him throughout literal days, weeks, and months of training is something we know as water breathing. But what he has no clue of is that the water breathing that is created from Tanjiro is far different than anything you could imagine. Tanjiro Kamado is not going to be your normal water breathing user. Yes, he's going to learn so many different aspects of water breathing, so many different versions of water breathing, but it doesn't mean that water breathing itself will all be the same. Because what happens is Tanjiro starts to learn that he has powers within him that are far different than normal. Because when he starts training with Urokodaki, starts working and training hard with him, trying to learn the arts of fighting, he realizes that he senses something within Urokodaki, senses something that is surrounding his entire body, and that is blood. and he doesn't know how, he doesn't know when, he doesn't know what's going on, but he senses the blood within Urokodaki's body, and he's able to utilize it, as if he's able to utilize his blood, but also his own blood, Urokodaki and himself separately, and it seems that he's able to actually utilize it in different ways. For starters, he's able to utilize it to really grant himself openings, and this would shock Urokodaki, and he tells him for the next about 6 months he needs to train on this specifically, work hard on it, understand it, because this could be their next kind of step to getting to exactly where he needs to be. So he trains hard, even so much so that he would train with the spirits of Sabito and Makomo, learning from them, training with them, and gaining more and more experience, and eventually he would be able to slice through the boulder, but not before he would slightly slice through his hand, as he would embed the blood that goes through his own body within his blade, and he would slice through it cleanly and even slice it over and over into pieces. The spirits of Sabito and Makomo would watch on, proud, watching Tanjiro being really taking that next step and realizing that Tanjiro Kamado might just be the next great demon slayer. This would shock everybody and make everyone realize where they're at currently, but Tanjiro's preparation for the final selection is about to finish, and the final selection is about to begin. And Tanjiro Kamado would head off with all the confidence in the world, but still fear deep within his own chest. And as the final selection would be talked about by two what seems to be little girls, two of them would speak about what's going to happen, how long they're going to live, and so on, yada, yada, yada. And eventually, Tanjiro would enter the mountain, enter the area, and he would fight off demon after demon with his blood-letting sword. And it seems as if the sword itself is allowing himself to really utilize the blood of every demon he slays, and as he does this, he seems to get more and more powerful, and his blade seems to get sharper and sharper. But he utilizes some of the aspects of water breathing, water surface slash first form, water wheel as well second form, but embedding the blood arts or the blood bending type of power or the blood breathing type of power he actually is able to utilize as well. And in doing so, it gives him the upper hand against so many of these other demons, and he would need it because he would face off with someone by the name of the Hand Demon, a hand demon that is currently trucking along and chasing a innocent future demon slayer, and Tanjiro is able to utilize the blood he has accumulated and slices through the hand demon in one foul swoop, utilizing also parts of his own water breathing techniques, and realizing that the more he learns, the more he progresses, the better he will get, because it seems like water breathing and blood breathing can coexist simultaneously and are now making the strength of them combined even greater than you could imagine. And after the defeat of the Hand Demon, and after a week would go by on that mountain, the mountain full of demons, eventually Tanjiro would return home. After he would return back to Urokodaki. But before that, he would grab the ore that he needed, stop this one guy that's a little bit angrier than you would expect, stop him from doing anything really idiotic, and Tanjiro, almost said Izuku Midoriya, but Tanjiro Kamado would eventually head back to Urokodaki and Nezuko, seeing that she has now awakened, and Urokodaki is proud and crying of Tanjiro's arrival. This would eventually lead to him getting his sword, preparing for his journey, and getting a box for Nezuko to embark on the first mission that he has. And that first mission would be an encounter with the Swamp Demon. Because yes, he would arrive in this kind of town-like area, meeting a man who is basically upset that his wife got taken, and other people that are upset that, well, people are getting taken in general. And Tanjiro's goal and journey just starts right now. Finding this demon is at the top of his list, and before you know it, that same night when he's trying to find the demon would be coming after another girl, and he would be there to stop it. And this time around, Tanjiro would make quick work of a demon like this. He would slice through him, and the demon would be cocky, would think, oh, this is nothing, I can heal it back. But as Tanjiro slices through, gaining more and more blood, it seems that Tanjiro's abilities continue to soar to the sky, his strength being absolute and his strength getting higher and higher, and eventually he slices toward the neck of the demon, and the demon tries to get away, going within his own portals, trying to escape, but Tanjiro goes in after it, even saving a girl that got taken away the same day, or at least that same night, and also defeating the demon with the help of Nezuko, even though Nezuko wasn't necessarily needed throughout this time, but still, with the help of Nezuko, made a swift defeat of the swamp demon, and the demon itself would fall short very, very quickly. But what Tanjiro doesn't know is that when the crow comes calling and he has to go to investigate the city that never sleeps, he would have his first encounter with who we know as Muzan Kibutsushi. And it seems like this man is the man that killed his family. And Tanjiro, with no remorse, is wanting to end him. He can smell him. He can smell the blood that pumps through his veins and can smell the disgusting flesh that covers his body. And Tanjiro wants the man gone. But he knows when he stands there, stands in front of him, shocked to see he has a family, he knows that this is just an undercover act, a cover for what he's doing. And before you know it, Muzan would escape, and he would immediately send or create a demon that would spiral out and almost hurt a civilian, but Tanjiro is able to stop it and stop the ensuing kind of demon from hurting it. But Muzan saw what was on his ears. The earrings, or the kind of the ear type, the ear kind of rings that he has on, is something that scares him, terrifies him, and makes him question. Because that right there is what he saw before. He sees something in Tanjiro, but this time it's even different. So he decides to create two demons, or really take two demons and make them into what he truly knows, and he sends them after the one and only Tanjiro. Susumaru and Yahaba hunt for the boy and hunt for Tanjiro, as Tanjiro is brought in by Yushiro, who tells him to basically come and talk to Lady Tamayao. And there's some funny moments where Yushiro is smacking him on the head and, telling him this, telling him that. But Tanjiro tells Lady Tamayao that all he wants is to save his sister, and all he wants is to truly get her out of this horrible life of being a demon, and wants to save her and really make her back into a human. In which Lady Tamayao would say that the only way to do this is to take the blood of the 12 Kizuki and basically get this blood and eventually find a cure. But it's going to be a long journey. It's going to be a long time. And before you know it, before the conversation can even end, the two demons that were hunting for Tanjiro would show their face, and a full-on battle would break out. But Tanjiro, he would be no slouch right now. With the power and the blood that already came from that first demon, his blade and his strength is already heightened, and he's able to keep up easily with one of the demons, the one that continues to kick a ball. And it seems as if it is very, very, very simple for Tanjiro to keep up, but he knows that with the two of them together, it will make things a lot more difficult. He thinks, but not impossible. Now, he might have arrows and different things to avoid, and ball after ball getting sent his way, but with the help of Nezuko, and it seems that Nezuko is actually becoming stronger and stronger as they speak, it seems that Tanjiro continues to basically upheal his own section of the bargain and continues to fight alongside her, eventually defeating Susumaru and Yahaba and easily defeating them. And as the fight would go on, as people would bleed and as people would fall closer and closer with lacking blood, he would just get stronger and stronger and stronger, and giving openings to Nezuko and even himself on the two demons that came to fight them. And it seems like Tanjiro, throughout this time, throughout these missions, his power continues to rise, and his ability to control the blood that goes within not only his own body, but others, seems to get higher and higher. So much so that every time he injures himself, he finds ways to heal himself with his blood breathing. It's as if it's kind of on top of the normal kind of concentrated like breathing he already knows, but it's almost already better than some of the other heal breathing type of abilities you could possibly think of. Now, after all of this is said and done, after talking to Lere Tamayao and Yushiro about eventually getting a cure and having those vials ready to go, Tanjiro would continue his journey and continue his missions as he would progress, going towards a mansion. But as he's going across and as he's about to find that mansion, he would come across somebody that would annoy the hell out of him initially, because he's begging and begging and begging to marry a girl he barely even knows. And that is Zenitsu. He would stop Zenitsu, telling him to basically be quiet, calm the hell down. She doesn't really like him, blah, 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 and all that good stuff. And then eventually tells him that he's going on a mission with him, in which he's crying. He's, no, I don't want to die either, blah, blah, blah. And Tanjiro's like, dude, I don't care. We're going over there and we're going to fight some freaking demons. So they head over to the mansion, and as they arrive, they can tell that there's an aura, a weird aura about this area, and they know for sure that there's a kid or a brother that is trapped in there. And that's something right there that they have to help these two little kids about. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Tanjiro and Zenitsu would go in, but they would be forced to split up. The group completely splitting up, and Tanjiro eventually having to face off with someone by the name of Kyogai. And Kyogai is no joke, like at all. But his ability to spin the room and smack his drums, and also being part, or at one point being part of the 12 Kizuki, makes him a very formidable foe. But Tanjiro knows for sure that he's not going to lose this fight. His power, his strength, and his abilities have basically continued to grow, and he's able to basically utilize his blood breathing to make himself even stronger than he would utilizing breathing styles in the first place, or using concentration breathing in the first place. And Tanjiro would easily outpace Kyogai, tracking him down and running him down very quickly. Kyogai would try to get out of harm's way, but before you know it, Tanjiro would be on top of him, slicing his head clean off, and he couldn't do a single freaking thing about it. Tanjiro making quick work of this demon, making quick work of whatever he had to deal with, and obviously finding himself getting stronger with the blood that is from that demon, specifically defeating Kyogai, defeating who's in front of him, and defeating one of the members, or one of the past members of the 12 Kizuki. And this is impressive, far, far more impressive than you would possibly imagine. And the defeat of Kyogai is swift and happens very quickly with a kind of breathing style that Tanjiro now knows, and a breathing style that he now has created, and that's called blood breathing. First form, Crimson Bloom, and he strikes rapidly, spiraling slashes similar to the movement of even water breathing, and it spreads kind of this bloody aura all around, and he slices through, and he immediately would get the upper hand, and he would defeat Kyogai quickly and gain more blood from demons that are even stronger than you could imagine, and more blood from demons that, normally he would never be able to defeat in such a way. Growing in strength and growing in power, it feels as if Tanjiro's almost on a level of a demon themselves, which shocks even the demons all around. The demon of Kyogai, as he's basically disappearing from nothingness, he's in shock, thinking that Tanjiro moves, fights, and is able to move and fight and kind of do things like a demon. And it seems as if he's able to kind of close the distances and fight against him like he's never expected a human to do in the first place. And he feels disgusted at himself that he was defeated in such a way. And before you know it, Tanjiro would be outside the mansion watching Zenitsu kind of make sure that Inosuke doesn't attack the box that he has and attack Nezuko. Obviously, he doesn't know Nezuko's in there, but he makes sure to protect it as much as he possibly can. And eventually this leads to a fight with Tanjiro and Inosuke is easily beaten as Tanjiro makes it so his blood can no longer move, and basically makes it so his body moves so much slower than it normally does, and Tanjiro would stand right in front of him, telling him to stop, telling the boar to calm down and not do anything stupid. And then he would eventually try to headbutt Tanjiro. And as he does, he would knock himself out. And Tanjiro would shake his head and tell him, like, I gave you an option and you didn't take it. But eventually Inosuke would come to his senses and join the group, and the trio would head off for their next kind of thing and their next orders. Before the group heads off to Mount Natagumo, they would have some time to rest, take a breath in a nice little like abode of this older woman, and she would feed them, and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. And this would eventually lead up to their preparation to head to investigate Mount Natagumo, because it seems like a lot of different demon slayers are going up there but are eventually shown to be missing. And well, let's just say the demon slayers that are actually being sent there, well, they're questioning their course of work or their choice of work, because they're getting taken out one by one by one. And as they arrive, as Tanjiro enters the fray, he would see another demon slayer and ask him what's going on. And he would tell him like, oh, this is insane. This is these spider-like kind of demons, blah, blah, blah. And all these demon slayers would be taken over, controlled, and unable to do a single thing on their own accord. And Tanjiro and Inosuke would eventually discover the demon slayer puppets and would be in shock. And yes, they would have to make a decision. How are they going to take these things down? And eventually they would realize that they can't just cut the strings. It doesn't work that way. So they try to cut through different, the source and different spiders and stuff like that, slowing them down. But with the anger and the frustration from the mother spider demon, it seems as if she was done with the bodies of the demon slayers and would end them swiftly. And Tanjiro would only find this to be even more irritating, looking closer and closer for this spider mother demon. And he would even see someone watching, feel someone watching, but he knows that that's not who he's looking for, at least not yet. Tanjiro and Inosuke would eventually encounter the mother spider demon's doll, feeling that they're getting closer and closer to the eventual kind of fight with whoever is controlling all of these things. Tanjiro would know that they need to basically slice this thing in half, and he finds openings for Inosuke, who is eventually way up in the air, coming down, slicing through this mother spider demon's doll, and eventually it's only her left, and she can't do much to really stop them. And Tanjiro, well, he would come spiraling in, and out of the goodness of his own heart, he doesn't do anything too crazy, making it so that he kind of swiftly and calmly, in a way, strikes through the mother spider demon to the point of, well, she doesn't really feel much there. She feels the blood kind of go out of her own body, but at the same time, the water would cleanly slice through her, and she would now know that death is going to embrace her. But she knows that she did wrong, and she knows that this is the time, and also really the reason why she's going on to the next life. And with her falling there, Tanjiro and Inosuke, well, they would have to continue on looking and finding where these next demons are. But before you know it, they would be stopped by the father spider demon, whose skin itself is stronger than you could imagine. But before you know it, when a one punch would wind up, Tanjiro would open a portal beneath them, and they would be gone. Behind the spider demon, and him and Inosuke would strike toward the neck of the demon, but realize that thing is tough, strong. And Tanjiro, before he could react, would be slapped away. But Inosuke got a glimpse of the power that Tanjiro has, seemingly being able to utilize some of the blood demon arts that these other demons have been using, because that obviously was not a breathing style. It seems that there's something to do with his style of breathing that allows him to actually remake or reuse the powers of these other demons, and it shocks him. But he knows he has to live long enough to see the next day against this demon, because Tanjiro is no longer there to help him. But Tanjiro, well, he has his own issues now. Separated from Inosuke, he discovers Rui, but also the daughter of the spider demon. And Rui is laying into her, talking all of this smack, saying this, saying that, saying horrible things to her. And Tanjiro tells him, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be the way you are. You can be better. But he looks at him and says, no, you don't understand. You have a blessing. You have a sister that is useful, a sister that can do things, and a sister that doesn't disappoint. And he tells him that they're family nonetheless, and he'll do anything for family. And Rui says that he will do the same as well. But he knows now that Tanjiro, he won't. Because if he did, he'd be running away from his sister, or running away with his sister as they speak. Because Rui would attack them quickly with his insane web-like abilities, or kind of like these spider type abilities, and it would cut through even Tanjiro's skin to a large degree. He would have to react quicker than you could imagine, and Tanjiro and Nezuko would try to keep up. Now, they're able to keep up because Tanjiro is able to kind of move the area all around them, kind of like Kyogai. Same thing with the Swamp Demon opening portals and giving them openings. But Tanjiro is only able to do this so much. He's only able to do this to a certain degree. But eventually he would find the opening, find a chance. He could see it. He could see the moment, and he would go in for the strike. Feeling the blood on his own blade, the blood from his own skin as it heals over, and as his blade gets sharper, he would cut toward the neck of Rui, and it would shock him. With one hand, Tanjiro would swipe his sword toward the neck of Rui, and Rui would go to try and cut the arm off of Tanjiro, but before you know it, Tanjiro is able to actually cut the head off of Rui, and he would think it was over. But as he thinks this, he would see these strings, these kind of webs would gather around, grabbing onto Nezuko, taking her up into the air, and would begin to cut her slowly into pieces. But Tanjiro reacts quickly, trying to fight Rui as Rui puts back on basically his head, saying that he cut it off before Tanjiro could actually get the kill shots, shocking Tanjiro entirely. But he knows he needs to do something to help his little sister, and he tries his best, striking along. But before you know it, Tanjiro is overwhelmed with the absolute peak of the blood demon art of Rui, leading him to awakening something that he didn't really understand. He knew, but now he does. Seeing Nezuko awaken kind of this blood demon art, that he had no idea even existed in the first place. It seems like it has awakened something within him, something for him to understand, and something for him to now truly know. And this is the Hinokami Kagura, other known as the Dance of the Fire God. And it seems like Tanjiro is awakened and done something that even Rui, looking at it closely, scares him, because it's combining with his blood breathing, and as the blood would surge and as the flames would burn, the blood itself would make the flames even hotter and more potent, and it begins to change in color. It seems like every slice, every clash, and every movement, Tanjiro's flames and blade get stronger and stronger. Pinkish / purplish fire would exude from Tanjiro, similar to, Nezuko herself, and he would cut through Rui into pieces, leading to his eventual defeat. And as he kind of crumbles away, as he disappears slowly but surely, Tanjiro watches on, nodding his head, immediately kind of sheathing his sword, and he would tell Rui that he may have went through a lot, and he may have tried to protect his family, but he lost his way. And he understands that. But hopefully one day in the afterlife, he can find the right track once again and become who he was in the past. Giyu would arrive as Rui would disappear, and weirdly enough, it's a sense of pride and being proud in Giyu, telling Tanjiro he did good. But before you know it, a blade would come striking down from Kanao right at Nezuko. Tanjiro would react quickly and he would block the strike, telling her that what she's doing isn't what she thinks. Flames would appear once again. The aura of Tanjiro would show all around. The blood from the battle would consume on the sword, and Tanjiro would tell her to not do what she's doing. Don't do this. Kanao wouldn't say a word and would still try to strike toward Nezuko, and he would tell her to run. Tanjiro would go head to head with Kanao, and well, Giyu Tomioka would defend Nezuko against Shinobu. Eventually, though, the crows would sound and the crows would speak, telling them all to stop hunting Nezuko and Tanjiro and bring them back to the mansion. In which that's exactly what happens. Nezuko and Tanjiro travel back to the mansion, and Nezuko isn't killed just yet, but they are trialed entirely by the Hashira. The Hashira speaking, talking, and telling them exactly what's going to happen and telling them what is happening, what's going on. And this is when the Wind Hashira makes it apparent that there is no demon. There is no demon out there that could truly be good. There's no demon out there that can truly protect humans. And he would even slice into Nezuko, and Tanjiro, even captured and even with cuffs on his arms, would shatter the cuffs and headbutt the hell out of the Wind Hashira, Saname, and immediately make it known that he is no joke. Blood coming out of the nose of Saname, well, immediately Tanjiro would utilize that said blood to dull his sword. So when the sword would try to actually strike against Tanjiro, he would block it with his arm and land a punch to the stomach and then a kick to the head. Tanjiro would tell him that this fight isn't what he wants, but if this is a fight he's going to get, that's until someone arrives. The moment he arrives, it seems as if everyone goes calm and everyone stops and everyone bows, and even Saname grabs onto Tanjiro and makes him bow as well. This is Ubuyashiki, and it seems like his arrival has begun to start a meeting, and they begin to read a letter and basically a blessing to Nezuko, and this letter would basically say that Nezuko is now a demon slayer, and that, well, the one and only Giyu Tomioka, and really the best or one of the greatest users of water breathing, known as Urokodaki, would give their blessing, saying that they'll commit Sambuku if Nezuko eats a human. And in doing so, Saname even fails to discredit Nezuko, and Tanjiro is taken to the Butterfly Mansion to begin his rehabilitation training and really gain power and strength beyond what he has now. From concentration breathing to power, he continues to grow. This is the time for Tanjiro to grow in strength, grow in power, and that includes him, Zenitsu, and Inosuke gaining power beyond their actual beliefs and power beyond what they currently have. And this is all to eventually prepare him for an eventual fight at the Mugen train. And this right here is basically potentially where Tanjiro's journey will change drastically, because Tanjiro speaks to Shinobu after weeks and weeks of training and rehabilitation and asks about the Flame Hashira. The Flame Hashira they know as Rengoku, Kyojuro Rengoku. And this is someone they'll be looking for. So Tanjiro and his group of Inosuke and Zenitsu take the train and eventually come across the orange red-headed fellow known as Rengoku, who never seems to stop smiling. But this fight and this chance and experience to face off the demons of the Mugen train is gonna have to wait for the very next part and the final part of What If Tanjiro Had Blood Breathing. And if you enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. As you guys can tell, these are going to be two-parters, obviously. So I'll go through like quite a bit, all the way to the Mugen train, maybe even further next time. I don't know just yet. I mean, kind of just getting the feeling for it once again. So we'll do the Mugen train, the Entertainment District, and then also the Swordsmith's Village arc. Then we obviously have the Hashira training, but the Hashira training isn't too big of an arc. We can kind of breeze over the training for the most part, but we'll talk about it briefly to a degree. And then we'll hold off on the Infinity Castle and stuff like that until it gets animated in the near future. But if you guys really show love to these videos, maybe I'll just decide to jump in to the Infinity Castle and other stuff as well, even without the animation or the animated story of Demon Slayer being up to that degree. Now, with that said, though, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.